The Long Road by Wolfland. Stephen sat in his seat on the first day with his stomach twisting from nervous excitement. He couldn't wait to become Beldam's trainer, but school was going to take some getting used to. Stephen hadn't been in a classroom of more than one in quite a while. Beldam nudged into his side with a small chirp, and Stephen relaxed his white-knuckled grip on the edge of the desk. He reached down and patted its head, mouthing a silent, "Thank you." Mercifully, trainer school had allowed the presence of Pokemon while lessons were in session, provided they would fit in the room without causing a disturbance. They would get through this together. From day one, Stephen was in his element, and over the next few months, Stephen and Beldam poured everything they had into their schoolwork. Stephen was eager to learn, and with Beldam at his side, he didn't think twice when it was his turn to participate aloud during class. The duo enjoyed great success with their theoretical coursework. Everything from trainer tools to battle strategies to Pokemon care seemed to come naturally to Stephen, and it wasn't long before he and Beldam were reading ahead on their own into more advanced lessons. But book smarts were not the only part of trainer school. When it came to the actual battle portion of the course, things did not go as smoothly. Stephen discovered that Beldam only knew one move, a full-body tackle that, unfortunately, also did damage to Beldam in return. While Beldam was sturdy enough to take on some of the smaller Pokemon at the school, larger opponents with more health proved to be difficult. The little steel type could only hold for so long before succumbing to fatigue from its own attacks. Stephen knew they needed to make some improvements before their midterm. When the time came for his exam, it didn't take much effort. Stephen passed the midterm test with flying colors. Full marks were awarded on his written test, and Stephen was riding high in the second half of the assessment. The instructor cleared his throat, and Stephen snapped back to attention. "And now for the battle portion of the assessment. You will face off in a one-on-one battle against one of your classmates. Everyone, head outside to the arena. Watch these matches, and learn from your classmates." Instantly, the high was gone, and Stephen felt the blood drain from his face. He had never had to battle in front of the whole class before. The previous in-class battles were usually only held with small groups and plenty of instruction. Even Beldam's presence at his side couldn't stop his nerves from returning in full force. "Stephen and Roxanne, it's your turn. Please take your positions." Swallowing thickly, Stephen walked to the trainer's box and looked across to his opponent. She was short and had her brunette hair tied up in a red ribbon. He could feel an air of confidence in the way she carried herself, and with a light toss, she released a Geodude into the arena, where it immediately began to bounce and flex its rocky arms. "A rock type, huh?" Upon seeing Roxanne's Pokemon of choice, he leaned over and whispered quickly to his partner. "They can outspeed us with a rock polish, but if it knows rollout, they might use defense curl first instead." Beldam hummed as it sized up the Geodude across from it, and Stephen continued. "Once you see their setup move, use takedown for a free hit." "Hey, Stephen!" she called to him, interrupting his strategy session with Beldam. "I watched your earlier battles. I don't mean for this to sound so bad, but you're not going to win." A murmur ran through the crowd at Roxanne's confident declaration, but Stephen did his best to ignore it. Even if Beldam lacked when it came to a move pool, it could still win with a solid strategy, and that's just what he had. So he called across the field with a challenge of his own. "Beldam's steel body can stand up to whatever rock-type attacks your Geodude knows. It'll be a battle of stamina." Roxanne laughed lightly and shot right back, "That's what you think!" Stephen didn't like her tone. "Trainers ready? Let the match begin!" Roxanne called out to Stephen again. "Mind if I go first? We've been practicing, and Geodude is excited to try out his new move." Stephen stayed silent, and Roxanne took that as an affirmative. "Great! Then Geodude, use magnitude!" Stephen paled. He hadn't planned on the Geodude being a high enough level to know a ground-type move, and Roxanne's quick attack left him no time to come up with a counter-strategy. In a panic, Steven shouted to his partner, "Beldum, dodge!" The ground in the area began to shake and shift as Beldum zigged and zagged to avoid the fault lines of the attack. He needed to think quickly, or this would be over in an instant. "Launch an attack of your own! Use takedown to stop that Geodude!" Adjusting its magnetic field to compensate for the now rough terrain, Beldum chimed at Steven's command and made a beeline towards the Geodude. "Keep up the attack, Geodude! Try to increase your magnitude!" The ground began to quake again, but Beldum remained fixed on its course. Suddenly, the ferocity of the attack increased, and the arena floor ruptured into jagged shards of earth. Unable to adjust to the new terrain fast enough, Beldum was sent spiraling out of control, where it crash-landed in a heap, only delivering a glancing blow to Geodude for its efforts. The last bit of Beldum's stamina drained away as the attack's recoil took its toll. "Beldum is unable to battle! Roxanne and Geodude are the winners!" "Yes! That was the highest magnitude yet!" Roxanne cried in triumph. "I'm proud of you, Geodude! All that hard work has paid off!" She looked up from praising her partner and spotted Steven, still standing in the trainer's box at the other side of the battlefield. He made no move to recall his Pokémon, seemingly lost in furious thought. Roxanne's brow furrowed in confusion. She motioned for Geodude to follow, and she made her way over to Steven's side. As she got close, she could hear him muttering under his breath. "But it doesn't make any sense. I studied and strategized for a type matchup just like this. How did it all go wrong?" "Hey, Steven?" At the sound of her voice, Steven flinched as if he'd been hit. His eyes shot up, and he immediately fell silent. "It was a good match. You were right about the type matchup, and Beldum was impressive in dodging that first attack." Roxanne held out her hand. "With a bit more work, I bet you and Beldum will beat us next time?" Steven still stood frozen, ignoring Roxanne's offered handshake. The only thing occupying his mind was the sensation of his classmates' judgmental eyes boring into his body. He could hear the whispers amongst the crowd. How did he manage to lose with such a type advantage? How did he not realize that Geodude would know at least one ground-type move by now? Steven felt his chest tighten as the panic began to rise in his throat. Roxanne leaned closer, eyes alight with concern. "Hey, Steven, don't listen to any of that. Type advantage isn't everything when it comes to battle. I've seen your scores in class. I know you're more than capable as a trainer." Here was his opponent, someone who had bested him with one of the types he was supposed to know all about, and it was all he could do to try not to let her see his hands shake at his sides. He wanted to disappear. "Come on, call Beldum back and let's head inside." It was just as Steven managed to will himself to reach for Beldum's Pokeball that someone shouted from the crowd, "Why didn't you just use a Steel-type attack? That should have been an easy win!" And it was as if the world had collapsed around him. Steven spun on his heel to face the crowd of students, eyes ablaze. "You think I didn't know that? I've trained, and Beldum just won't learn any new moves! Maybe if it wasn't so helpless, we could have actually won!" Roxanne's hands flew to her mouth to stifle a gasp. She never could have imagined that a trainer would say something like that about his partner. The crowd fell silent at Steven's outburst, and all of a sudden, the silence felt deafening. Shame washed over him as he quickly turned away from the expressions of surprise and pity, only to find himself face to face with a singular red eye. In his rage, he hadn't noticed his Pokémon had managed to make its way back to his side. Scratched and covered in dirt from battle, Beldum whined a long, low note at its trainer. Steven felt his chest clench again as he reached a trembling hand out to his partner. "Beldum, I didn't really mean any of that. I was just so upset, and I don't know what came over me. Beldum, I'm so Wait! But he was too slow. Beldam had already turned and bolted for the woods beyond the arena. Beldam! Silence hung heavy over the group until one voice broke through. Oh, great job! Now you've gone and chased off your only Pokemon! It was Roxanne's turn to face the crowd in anger. One finger jabbed accusingly towards the offending voice. Hey, cut it out! This is your fault in the first place! If you hadn't been so mean... Roxanne froze at a sound from behind her, and she turned in time to see Steven run off in the direction Beldam had fled. Hey, Steven, stop!